9 today. Under sunny skies, southwest winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies tonight. Lows level off around 32. Ample sunshine expected tomorrow. Highs level off around 63. High of 63 Saturday with a slight chance of rain showers. 63 Sunday. A peek at the extended shows. 59 Monday, 54 Tuesday, and 54 on Wednesday. Once again, we should top out at 59 today. Low of 32 tonight. A high of 63 tomorrow. Get up to the minute weather updates from the Weatherology Weather Center. I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley on this NWKS radio station. Currently 28.
At FNB Bank, we understand the backbone of our community is our local farmers and ranchers. Whether you're growing crops, raising livestock, or investing in new equipment, we're here to help you succeed. Our agricultural loans are tailored to meet the unique needs of your farm with flexible terms from people who understand what it takes to make it in agriculture. When you partner with FNB Bank, you're working with neighbors who know the land and are invested in your success. FNB Bank, rooted in our community, growing with you. Member FDIC.
This time of year, you'll find some booking discounts, the savings in the bag, Pioneer seed bags with Chris Marshall Seeds of Oakley, Kansas. Take advantage of the special prices, and they want to say thank you for your business. Chris Marshall Seeds, Old Highway 40 of Oakley.
Even though your attention has turned back to school with events and activities, you just can't forget everything going on at home. That's where your local Hoover Lumber Ace hardware stores in Goodland and Colby come in. Keep the lawn in check with mowers, blowers, and trimmers from Craftsman, Toro, and Ego. They are still your local Benjamin Moore paint retailer, and they still have that amazing selection of outdoor grills and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Plus, their helpful and knowledgeable staffs are some of the best in the Northwest. It's all at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby. Open every day but Sunday.
Turkey, stuffing, and a brand new Morton building. This Thanksgiving, give your gear a feast of its own with a custom building that's got room for everything, except maybe Aunt Edna. Morton Buildings, because your tractor deserves a holiday home too. Happy Thanksgiving from Van and the crew at Morton Buildings in Colby.
The one hail of a sale continues at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get huge savings on not just lightly hailed on vehicles, but also ones that don't have hail or have had the hail fixed. How about a 2024 GMC Sierra 1500 SLE with hail up to $13,000 off when trading in an eligible vehicle, now only $49,000. A 24 Chevy Tahoe RST with hail up to $14,000 off, now just $58,000. It's one hail of a sale, and it continues at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery, ingestion, and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
Make sure your vehicle is ready for the coming winter months by visiting your local CarQuest Auto Parts stores, Colby and Goodland Automotive. Save now on batteries, battery chargers, antifreeze, and more to make the winter easier on your ride. They say thank you for your business and look forward to being your local CarQuest Auto Parts store in the new year.
Don't let worrying about finding the right Christmas gifts make your holiday season stressful. NWKS Radio's Christmas Marketplace has an entire gym full of vendors with the perfect gifts for all the people on your list. Stop by the Colby Event Center Friday, November 29th from 1 to 6, Saturday, November 30th from 10 to 4, or Sunday, December 1st from 1 to 4, and find a one-stop shop for all of your Christmas shopping needs. NWKS Radio's Christmas Marketplace is free to attend, and there will be concessions available. Visit nwksradio.net for more information.
The Farmers State Bank of Oakley has been financing agriculture since the day we opened our doors. Hello, this is Corbin, and we are proud to be your locally owned partner in ag. We invite you to come and visit with us when you need to purchase new or used farm equipment, or need any type of agriculture or business loan. We have the knowledge, experience, and financial resources to keep you growing. The Farmers State Bank of Oakley, a tradition of community and agriculture for over 115 years. Member FDIC.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Being a Nebraska football fan these past few years and watching this team week in and week out, I kind of compare it to like doing drugs. You know you shouldn't do it, but you can't stop. Kids, don't do drugs.
The region's only local sports talk.
Not this again.
Yes, this again.
Broadcasting on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, simulcasting on Goodland's 730 Gold KLOE.
Guy is everywhere.
Discussing it all from the preps.
Rumbaugh fakes the three, fires it from the corner. Yes!
to the pros.
They set up the screen. McLaughlin has it with Miners in front. McLaughlin's got a first down inside the 10, inside the 5. Touchdown, Denver.
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, as well as the Insurance Agency, Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work.
The pitch to Judge, swung on and hit in the air to deep right. It is high. It is far. It is gone. It is a Judgian blast into the right center field seats. And the Yankees take an immediate 2-0 lead in this Muscade.
In the air to left center field. Judge on the run. Dead sprint now to the track, and it's over his head. Betts in to score. Freddie Freeman for the plate, and this game has been turned upside down. Cracked in the air to deep center field. Judge retreats. He'll make the grab, but the Dodgers have come all the way back and taken the lead in Game 5. Start the party, Los Angeles. Your Dodgers have won the World Series.
There wasn't a winning call there. It didn't matter who won. By the way, is it a little weird for people that Joe Davis is calling the World Series? Doesn't he do Dodger games when he's not doing the National Fox broadcast?
Yeah, but he does football too.
Pretty confident that's what he does. For some reason, I can't hear Max. Max might have his microphone turned on or something like that. I'm not for sure.
Hello?
Let's see here. I don't know what the deal is with old Maxwell this morning. Everything looks to be running in the right direction, at least at this point in time, but apparently I'm the one that can't figure it out. Yeah, I don't know why.
Ross, you there?
I don't know why Max does not have any audio coming through him here this morning. I believe everything is operational, I believe, on both ends, but Max can hear me apparently, but he apparently can't talk right now for whatever reason. He'll see if he can get back in the broadcast here in just a little bit. But good Thursday morning, everybody. Glad you're with us here on the Morning Blitz. It is 31 degrees outside. That's right. We've got some freeze going on out there. Cars are nice and icy this morning. That sat out after that little bit of precipitation, and yeah, able to like I said, have you able to kind of make it difficult to get to work today, possibly if you didn't kind of plan ahead a little bit. But nonetheless, must just be on my end. Apparently everyone can hear Max except for me, but I don't know why that would be. Because Larry chimes in, he says he can hear Max. So I don't know. Maybe I'm doing something wrong in what I'm trying to figure out in here. I don't know. It's very weird. Can you still not? Can you hear me still?
I can hear you.
Yeah, everyone can hear him but me. Oh my gosh, this is great. I always love a good live show that gets off to a wonderful start like this, and trying to figure out now why. Apparently, Larry, our fellow listener up north, he can hear Max talking, but apparently I cannot, and I'm not 110% sure why that is at this point in time. I really don't know. Trying different things, Max, but nothing seems to be working at this point in time.
Can you refresh?
I don't know why. Maybe that's what I need to do. But then we have someone also tuning in on 102.5 saying they can't hear Max. So apparently it's all over the place this morning. It's very, very weird. I wish I had an answer for people, but unfortunately I just don't. I do not know why. But Max is not coming through. I could understand if you're watching on YouTube. I'm pretty sure you probably might be able to hear Max, possibly, but I don't know why. I cannot seem to figure out. Yeah, apparently on YouTube you can hear him, but through the radio, for whatever reason, we cannot hear Max. And that to me is very interesting, to say the very least. I do not know why that would honestly be. Very, very odd. Once again, I'm like running through my brain at this point in time, trying to figure out why we can't hear Max at this point in time through here. So I will try and get this all figured out here. I will try to do what I can. I don't know. It must be something to do with the connection between the board and the computer or something along those lines. That's the problem when you have these technical difficulties. These are the type of things that happen. So I'll tell you what we will do. Tell you what we will do in this first segment. We'll change up the show a little bit here. So what will happen is we will get to the NFL Power 5 coming up in today's show. We will also get to some talk on the World Series, and there's high school football playoffs that get kicked off tonight across 8-man and some 11-man as well. A lot of area teams, in fact, are playing playoff football tonight. We'll get to Colby Community College Volleyball, who suffered a loss for the first time in 5 weeks. They lost at Garden City last night. So we'll get to all that with Colby, with high school football playoffs. We'll get to some World Series talk, and we'll also have the NFL Power 5 in today's show. But I think we're going to kick off the show. I had a pre-recorded interview scheduled with our good friend Ryan Gilbert from GoPowerCat.com. Ryan was kind of to join me yesterday and talk about the Wildcats' start to the basketball season, and of course a little bit about K-State football as well. And so Ryan was unable to join us live today, but he was able to pre-record with me. And so what will happen is we will play Ryan Gilbert's interview right now and talk with Ryan a little bit about the K-State basketball season, which once again had an exhibition game, some thoughts on that, some thoughts on the beginning of the season and what to expect. And of course, diving into K-State football as they get ready for Houston here this weekend. Once again, Ryan Gilbert of GoPowerCat.com.
Ryan, been a long time, my friend. How's life treating you?
It's been good, Ross. It has been a while, but just kind of plugging away here. We're almost halfway done with football season, or excuse me, we already are more than halfway done with football season, but hoops is just getting started up. Had the exhibition on Tuesday against Fort Hays State, so it's a busy time of year, but no complaints on my end, man.
Yeah, I know. Now you're full-time. First full year at Go Power Cat. How's that been so far?
It's been good, man. I've got no complaints. I mean, there's a time or two where, I'm not going to lie, I miss Taco Lucha and Aggieville a little bit, but fully dedicate, my craft and work on my craft here at Go Power Cat. So, yeah, it's been awesome, Russ.
Let's talk about basketball just real quickly here.
If you're just looking for a few players, Ross, Buddy Rich was very impressive. Max Jones, who I would anticipate starting for Kansas State this year, was unable to go due to a toe injury. Nothing serious, but that opened the door for Rich to go in and play. And Rich certainly made the most of it. He was, we all know he's a freak athlete, and that was probably the biggest surprise of the game with how well Rich played. But, top to bottom, this is a very deep team. It's a very versatile roster. And so they've got a bunch of dudes that can do a bunch of different things. And so we saw that against Fort Hays State on Tuesday. Brendan Hazen was exclusive. I mean, he took 1 million 3-point shots, I think, from beyond the arc. He's going to be a guy that is a sharpshooter, a sniper for this team. Coleman Hawkins, there's been a lot about him coming from Illinois. He played well. He's kind of a nice facilitator who can score down low, outside, pass the ball. He's a player that can do a lot of different things for this team. And so top to bottom, Ross, you could find positives from almost everybody. It was a sloppy game, but that's to be expected in an exhibition. But, Jerome Tang knows, he and his staff know that they've got to get back to the NCAA tournament after missing it last year, and they're confident they can.
Watching Coleman Hawkins in the Big Ten personally for the last few years, I know how much of a player he could be. How did he look, and what do you think his expectations are this year for K-State?
Testing.
Well, at Big 12 Media Day, we had players and Coach Tang saying that he's like the quarterback of the offense, which makes no sense given he's 6'9" or 6'10". But on against Fort Hays State, we saw that. Coleman Hawkins truly was able to do everything for this team. I would caution people, though, to maybe just pump the brakes a little bit on him being a superstar. I think Hawkins is absolutely capable of giving you 20 points on any given night, but with his versatility, he's going to do so much more than just score the basketball, right? And so if K-State wins a game in the Big 12 by 15, 20 points, Coleman Hawkins might only have a few points, but his assists are going to be up. His rebounds are going to be up, right? So he's going to be a star for this team. Don't get it twisted, but don't expect him to be a scorer on any given night because, like I said, this team has so many guys on it that can score, but also Hawkins is going to do much more than just put the ball through the net.
We're visiting with Ryan Gilbert of Go Power Cat. Doug McDaniel didn't get the start, and was there a reason for that? I figured Doug would be one of the key players on this year's team. What's the story on Doug McDaniel?
Yeah, it's interesting, Ross. I heard, rumors were swirling that Doug was maybe in the doghouse just a little bit. I know he came off the bench within a few minutes, and so maybe he's just in the doghouse, and that's kind of what we initially thought. And you didn't see him in the starting lineup. Okay, it all makes sense. No story here. But when asked about this in the post-game presser, Jerome Tang said that C.J. Jones is a starter. And he obviously kind of started in his place. But C.J. Jones, don't get it twisted, is a great player. He played well against Fort Hays State. Jerome Tang was pretty adamant that C.J. Jones is, kind of earned that start and that Doug didn't necessarily lose that spot. And, Tang said it was a coach's decision to not start him. So obviously I would anticipate McDaniel being a starter once the season kind of gets going. But as of right now, man, they're very high on C.J. Jones at that point guard spot. So who knows? That's something worth monitoring for sure.
Season openers coming up Tuesday at home against New Orleans. I mean, it's early and teams have evolved throughout the season, but what do you think will be the biggest difference between this year's team and last year's team that struggled to make the postseason?
Well, last year, Kansas State, there was a number of reasons, right? Not even in terms of winning and losing, but just the resume. K-State won 19 games. The net rating was killer. So there were so many things that kept them out. The net rating was ultimately why K-State didn't get in, but why didn't K-State win more games? It's because of really, Ross, two things: 3-point shooting and turnovers. This team was dead last in both of those categories last season statistically. And so if K-State wants to get back to the big dance, they've got to value the basketball, not turn it over, and hit those open 3-point shots when they get them. The Wildcats last year had a number of guys that could score. They could shoot the 3-pointer without a doubt, but in games, they just, they just weren't making them, right? They were getting good looks, and I think they had good shooters. They just weren't connecting on those threes. I think K-State's got a much better shooting roster than it did last year. Right now, I think they can really start to get over the hump and hit those 3-pointers. So, hitting your open shots from deep, not turning the ball over. K-State was not only worse in the Big 12, they were the worst among any power conference school last year with turnovers. And so K-State was very close. I wouldn't say they were very close, Ross, but they were near the bubble, right, with all the issues they had. If they can correct some of those things with a new roster, it's very reasonable to expect an NCAA tournament bid.
Certainly interesting to see how these new pieces fit together. But that's every team in college basketball nowadays, pretty much getting a whole new team through the transfer portal and keeping a few pieces around. Ryan Gilbert continue to be our guest here on the Morning Blitz on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline from GoPowerCat.com. Let's change on over to football. How exciting was that game at the Bill this past Saturday, being it there in person?
It was exciting, Ross. It was fun. It was an electric atmosphere. It was not the prettiest game from Kansas State, but it was even worse from KU. It just seemed like neither team really wanted to win. It was just mistake after mishap on both sides. And obviously the most costly one for KU was that Jalen Daniels fumble late in the fourth quarter that kind of set up that K-State game-winning 51-yard field goal. But it was obviously that's what college football is. It wasn't pretty, and good teams find ways to come out on top despite struggling, and that's obviously what Kansas State was able to do.
They've won 2 out of their last 3 games by a combined 5 points. The 3-point win at Colorado, the 2-point win over Kansas. What do you think has given K-State the edge to win some of these close contests this year?
I think K-State learned from what happened against BYU, right? Things snowballed out of control within an instant, right? It was Avery Johnson, I think it was DJ Giddens who fumbled, and then the defense immediately gave up a score, and then Avery Johnson throws a pick, and they have a punt return for a touchdown, and everything just went wrong in Provo against BYU. And I think ever since that moment, whenever adversity has struck, whenever something negative has happened for this team, they have not hit the panic button. They've, stayed calm in those moments, and that's why K-State's been able to come out on top in these games. K-State had against Colorado, Avery Johnson was picked off on a deflected ball. Colorado goes out and scores, takes the lead right after that. And of course, Kansas State's able to respond with that 50-yard bomb to Jace Brown for a touchdown to win the game. They weren't able to do that against BYU. Same thing kind of goes with the KU game. Of course, there were mistakes, like I said, but at the end of the day, they were able to respond from a number of mishaps in that game. And so it's just the maturity of this team. Most importantly, though, Ross, it's the maturity of Avery Johnson.
Yeah, and Avery, really, how much has he really think improved from that BYU loss? How big of a step has he taken?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's been a night and day difference because he was always showing the flashes, the upside, even before that loss, leading up to that loss. But he's just been so much more consistent. He hasn't been perfect, but he's able to respond much better from those bad things, so to speak, that are happening. And so I think he really turned the corner after that BYU loss. And it wasn't just that. The Tulane road victory was pretty ugly, right? K-State struggled, but Avery Johnson, I'm not sure if he's 1,000% healthy right now, just with kind of the way that he looks when he's running. That's pure speculation, but I don't think anybody's all there at this point in the year health-wise. But Johnson's maturity, his progression's been great as the year goes, and you've got to remember he's a true sophomore, and so it was unreasonable to expect him to just be the next, Colin Klein for this team immediately. Things had to take time. This coaching staff had to ease him into the playbook a little bit, and so I think things are finally starting to click for Avery Johnson. I know I just said that the KU game wasn't pretty. It wasn't, but Johnson's certainly making strides game by game.
Ryan Gilbert, our guest from Go Power Cat on the Hoover Lumber's Hardware Hotline. A couple more for you here. Looking at the totality of the schedule as it's kind of played out this year, and the schedule kind of changes throughout the year depending on which team is good, which team is bad. I mean, has this schedule been a challenging one for Kansas State to this point in time, or on par, or maybe easier than you thought?
Man, you go preseason and, okay, K-State doesn't get Utah, right? Who was supposed to be not one of the best teams, not the best. And so it looked great. You get maybe the better teams, Oklahoma State at home, KU at home, and it looked very favorable, but everything has just completely changed in that regard. Like, the home games against Cincinnati and Arizona State coming up after the bye, and Houston looked like gimmies, but those are quality opponents now. And so it does change week by week, but I think with where we are now, K-State before the year, it seemed like a very favorable schedule, but right now, Ross, I would say Iowa State, Colorado, BYU, I would make a strong argument that those are the three best teams. If you include K-State, right, the four best teams, right? K-State's had to play all three of them on the road, and so I don't want to make any sort of excuse for this team or anything like that, but it's tough, man. They're having to go on the road against the best teams in the conference. Obviously, able to escape Boulder with the narrow victory. If those teams play 10 times, I'm not sure K-State wins 5 of them. Colorado has been a very pleasant surprise to the Big 12. And so, Ross, it's going to come down to Iowa State really on the road. That final game of the regular season, that 100% is trending towards being a spot on the line in the championship game. That's going to be a lot of fun, but obviously this team can't look too far ahead. They've got 3 games before that.
No, you're exactly right. That Iowa State game is going to be absolutely massive if these teams continue on the path that they're on. With that being said, Houston, Arizona State, Cincinnati, you said those 3 teams, those are the next 3 games up for KSU. Which one is the most challenging or daunting?
The way to answer this really is K-State is just so good at home, and not just this year, but the last couple of years. You throw out the Iowa State game from last year, and Chris Kleiman's been tremendous at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. So the one that would maybe scare me the most, Ross, I'm kind of spitballing here, but I'm talking myself into that Houston game being maybe one of the most, dangerous of the next 3, just because K-State has been so good at home.
That's fascinating stuff. He is, again, Ryan Gilbert of GoPowerCat.com. Join us on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. Ryan, thank you so much for spending some time with us here this morning. Really appreciate it, my friend. We'll catch up soon. Be well.
Yes, sir, Ross. Thank you very much.
Good stuff there from Ryan Gilbert here on GoPowerCat.com. Boy, I think I took away from that interview that was most interesting to me was he brought up a good point when you were talking about when you looked at the schedule before the season. You didn't have Utah, you didn't have some of these big teams, and to have Iowa State, BYU, those teams, Colorado, and K-State, which are the 4 top teams in the Big 12 standings, and they're on your schedule. It just kind of proves you just don't know what to expect going into each and every season. I really think that is true in the Big 12. I think we've got everything worked out, and Max can join us now. Yeah, I hear him. I hear him click his mouth, so he's good now.
That was my testing sign. But
your testing sign is the click?
Yeah, I agree, though, that I think there was the same thing with Kansas and a lot of Big 12 schools. I thought KU had a favorable schedule because we didn't have Utah, no Arizona on the schedule. I thought Colorado was going to be one of the toughest challenges, and still is, but we haven't gotten to the point where that was the decision-making Big 12, championship game that I thought it would be. But regardless, I think the Big 12 is really shaken up a lot this year.
Yeah, Arizona State's better than I think people thought they were going to be in year two of Coach Dillingham. But there's no doubt a lot of people will say that the Big 12 is certainly maybe the most entertaining conference in football. I don't know if it's the best, but it's certainly maybe the most entertaining because it seems like almost any team could possibly win anytime they step out onto the field. I just don't feel like there is a true dominant team, even though BYU and Iowa State remain unbeaten.
That's true.
You've seen nights, like that Friday night a couple weekends ago when it was Oklahoma State and BYU late at night in Provo, and Oklahoma State had the lead and BYU needed some late heroics to win that game. I saw it because I was up that late watching it. They needed some late heroics to get that done. And Iowa State needed the same thing, against UCF just a couple weeks ago as well, right? To win that game. So, yeah, it's no doubt been a highly entertaining conference to watch, and K-State's right in the mix of it. And we'll see what these last 4 games. Hard to believe we're 2/3 of the way through the college football season. It's actually very, very sad. Extremely sad for this particular guy. Nonetheless, I appreciate all the listeners out there that have hung with us through the technical difficulties. I think what happened was in the one computer that we used to connect Max here, a setting got switched in the computer that I did not switch. But, technology from time to time. And we don't have a producer. The producer is yours truly, especially on the audio side of things. The producer is yours truly. So if the host and the producer have to go on a little adventure to go figure out what's wrong, that means that's kind of tough to push on through. So anyway, glad we had Ryan Gilbert's pre-recorded interview to kind of play through that and get that figured out. But great stuff from Ryan Gilbert. If you missed any of that conversation, he's always very good, especially if you love K-State basketball. He is the man to follow on social media. Ryan Gilbert, he is the dude for K-State basketball, and you can go back and replay that interview later today on the podcast if you missed any of it. All right, we'll take a break. We're at the bottom of the hour, and we return. We will dive into some World Series thoughts, some thoughts on the Dodgers winning in 5, as Max predicted. We will discuss that next, and we'll also get into some other news and notes before we get to the NFL Power 5 later on in the show. You're listening to a Thursday edition, a Halloween edition of the Morning Blitz.
Even though your attention has turned back to school with events and activities, you just can't forget everything going on at home. That's where your local Hoover Lumber Ace hardware stores in Goodland and Colby come in. Keep the lawn in check with mowers, blowers, and trimmers from Craftsman, Toro, and Ego. They are still your local Benjamin Moore paint retailer, and they still have that amazing selection of outdoor grills and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Plus, their helpful and knowledgeable staffs are some of the best in the Northwest. It's all at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby. Open every day but Sunday.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning, this is Kate Thompson with the Anderson Trade Group. Today is Thursday, October 31st, and today December corn unchanged at $4.11 and a half. March up a half cent at $4.26. May up a quarter at $4.34 and a quarter. July up a cent at $4.39 and a half. November soybeans up 6 3/4 at $9.83 and a quarter. January up 6 1/4 at $9.97 and a half. March up 6 1/4 at $10.11 and 3/4. May up 6 1/2 at $10.27 and 3/4. Chicago wheat, the December contract down 5 1/2 at $5.67 and 3/4. March down 5 cents at $5.88 and a half. May down 5 1/4 at $6. July down 6 1/4 at $6.04 and 3/4. Kansas City wheat, the December contract lower 6 3/4 at $5.69. March down 7 1/2 at $5.82 and a quarter. May down 7 cents at $5.93 and a quarter. July down 7 3/4 at $6.01 and a quarter. On the stock market this morning, the Dow down 229 at 42,134. The S&P down 39 at 5,812. The Nasdaq down 153 at 20,381. Gold lower $17.40 an ounce at $2,783, and crude oil up 59 cents a barrel at $69.20. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call. John Hankey or John Stiles at 970-744-4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Pluto, Jared Law, or Tyler Ghosh at 913-748-3000.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
Now's the time to get right with Pivot Bio Nitrogen. The right source at the right rate at the right time in the right place. Sounds good, right? And now is the right time to act. With zero payments, zero interest, and zero worry until December 1st, 2025 on the best source of nitrogen. Get right with Pivot Bio. For more information, visit pivotsprovenit.com. That's pivotsprovenit.com.
At Hogemeyer, we're raising the bar on yield performance, bringing world-class traits and genetics to these local fields with the exceptional corn rootworm control and proven powerful yields of new Vorseed Enlist corn. The unsurpassed flexibility and protection against above-ground pests with PowerCore Enlist corn. And other next-gen corn hybrids built to perform and boost your yields. It's time to raise a better crop. View Hogemeyer products at therightseed.com.
This time of year, Don Hazlett and the crew at Farm and Ranch Realty of Colby would like to thank you for your overwhelming support this last year. They're already lining out spring auctions. Again, thank you for your business. From Farm and Ranch Realty of Colby, Kansas, online at farmandranchrealty.com.
The one hail of a sale continues at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get huge savings on not just lightly hailed on vehicles, but also ones that don't have hail or have had the hail fixed. For example, a 24 GMC Sierra 1500 Denali with no hail up to $7,000 off when you're a loyal Buick or GMC owner, now just over $68K. A 24 Chevy Tahoe RST with hail up to $14,000 off, now just $58K. It's one hail of a sale, and it continues at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas, online at hurlchev.com.
The region's only local sports talk.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
The Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Picking up on a Thursday. Happy Halloween to those out there who love to participate. We're going to have some Halloween chit-chat coming up in the walk-off. I look forward to hearing what Max has to say about the wonderful holiday that is Halloween.
If you can still hear me by then.
Yeah, hopefully so. Hopefully so. Like I said, I apologize to everybody out there for the technical difficulties, but it's part of the deal in this business. It's just part of the deal in this business. You're going to have stuff that works great most of the time, and then there's a day here or there where it just doesn't work, and a computer reboots or just one setting is off. And I tell you, the way this setup works for us to be able to be in two separate locations and have it look and sound like it does, it takes a lot of it takes a lot of settings to be in the right position. But we're all good, and we're back rolling on the air here. We'll get to the NFL Power 5 coming up in our next segment, but I want to talk a little bit briefly about the World Series to get the show going. The Dodgers beat the Yankees 7-6, winning their first full season title since 1988. That's hard to believe. I would have been -1 at that point in time in 1988. So it tells you how long it was since the Dodgers won a full season. Now, they did win the COVID year, the shortened COVID year, but the Dodgers get it done 7-6 and a very interesting game. I don't know if I'd call it entertaining, but it was certainly interesting. When you count getting up huge lead by the Yankees, 5 runs to blow it, mostly all in one inning, thanks to a couple of errors, a miscommunication between Garrett Cole and Rizzo at first base, and then Aaron Judge completely misjudging a fly ball and letting it pretty much going off the front of his mitt and dropping to the ground. And the Dodgers come back. The Yankees would tie it back up at 6, and then the Dodgers take the lead back 7-6 on a sacrifice fly by Mookie Betts. And like I said, it was entertaining. It was kind of like, what was that type of game as well? But the Dodgers get it done in 5, as our own Max Gershon predicted. I felt good. I tell you, about going to the 5th, I thought, you know what? I predicted in 6, and I'm feeling good about my prediction. And then it all went to hell in a handbasket, but that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I predicted every game. I'm kind of proud of myself predicting all 5 games perfect for me. But, it really reminded me of going back to the golden days of the Royals, 2015, that playoff run, but the Blue Jays versus the Rangers to decide who would eventually face the Royals in the ALCS. If anyone remembers, there was the inning that led up to that Jose Bautista iconic bat flip. The infield of the Rangers had 3 consecutive errors. Elvis Andrews had 2. There was another one that's not coming to me right now, but that's very hard to overcome. When your defense has 3 miscues in one inning, that is almost impossible to overcome. And there was just so many of those mistakes throughout this entire World Series from the Dodgers. And there was really mistakes from the Yankees. And there was really mistakes from the Yankees in this entire playoff run, but it kind of got overlooked because they were playing, they were playing the Royals and they were playing the Guardians, who are not up to the standard of the Los Angeles Dodgers. So I think those really became bigger and in the spotlight when you're playing, a team like Los Angeles.
Yeah, it was an interesting end. I mean, I tell you, the X factor, I think, in this World Series for Los Angeles was actually Walker Buehler. I mean, the MVP was Freddie Freeman, and deservedly so. He was amazing. Another big hit last night. But Walker Buehler, to me, was a guy that didn't do anything through pretty much throughout the entire season, and really not much through the postseason. And all of a sudden, he comes up in the biggest series of the season and gives them a quality start, and then comes in and slams the door for the win at the very end. To me, he was the X factor in this win for the Dodgers. And look, they're a team that's been riddled by injuries, especially in the pitching department. And so to have him come back at the time they needed the most, for him to have such an impact, to me, he was the X factor for the Dodgers. And yeah, of course, Freeman was the MVP, and he was great with the bat. But you got to have those pitchers to shut down the opposing hitters, and give credit to New York. When they lost game 3, but they got 2 runs in that 4-2 game, at the very end, that helped spark, which was a win in game 4, and probably should have taken them to a win in game 5, if we're being honest. If it wasn't for just the mental, simple, elementary type of things that you're supposed to do in baseball, we're probably looking at a game 6 back in LA. That's what we're looking at.
I was thinking in my head, I was like, how cool would this be right now before the 9th inning if they threw Shohei out there on the mound to close it out?
There were people thinking about that.
They brought him back he just went on the mound, closed it out. But it was an interesting series, and it really was. There was a lot of close games. So even though it was 4-1, there were some really good games in that World Series, and I'm just so happy that a underdog, scrappy, small market team like the Los Angeles Dodgers could win the Fall Classic this year. Obviously kidding. But this is fun. Since 2013, the Yankees are 6-0 in the playoffs against AL Central teams: Guardians, Royals, White Sox, Tigers, whoever it is. But they're 0-6 in series against all other postseason opponents that are not in the AL Central. So maybe a little AL Central merchants since 2013 are the New York Yankees, and they got to figure out how to beat other teams than the AL Central.
Well, that might be true. There's lots of these were the 2 teams that spent the most money in all of baseball for the last how many years, and it finally came to fruition in a World Series. Major League Baseball got exactly what they wanted, and the Dodgers are the one that pulls it out in the end. How about Shohei Ohtani really not having much of an impact in this series in comparison to what he usually does?
No, he didn't. And he had a better. I mean, he had a good postseason leading up to that. With runners in scoring position, he was phenomenal leading up to the World Series. I know he did struggle, but you got to look at this Dodgers team. They are going to get substantially better next year when their pitching gets healthy. When Shohei's going and playing both positions, this is a very, very, very real chance of a back-to-back, which is so hard to do in baseball. But they've got a very, very good chance.
I wonder how much of an impact, if we will not see Shohei be as dominant like on the base paths, or if his batting average or home runs takes a dip because he is pitching.
I don't know. Probably
I could see that.
I would see the base paths dip. I'm not sure. He's one of one.
I know. I mean, he is one of one.
Anything he does. But I think if there was one thing, it would be the obvious thing to point to would be base paths, but the steals. But we'll see. We'll see.
No, I would agree. He is one of one, but I don't know. They're just, to me, when you're pitching at a major league level and you got to have that kind, your mind is on pitching to do both at that high of level. Like to have another 50-50 and to have 500 strikeouts, for example, or whatever, whatever number you want to throw out there, ridiculous. That would just be unreal. And I guess if there is a guy to do it, it would be him. I just don't know if I expect to see that next season. We'll see. Maybe it will.
We will. But, it was one of those things that I'm watching them win. And I'm like, all right, Mookie got another. Freddie's got another. And then I see Shohei. I'm like, oh, my God. I forgot Shohei just won a World Series.
Because he had no impact in this series.
It kind of escaped my mind. And I love Shohei, and I think he did have a good postseason leading up to the World Series. But just for whatever reason, maybe because he was DHing and, you don't see him. But I was like, oh, that's right. Shohei just won his first World Series in his first playoff. So it was cool, and I'm happy for him. Really am.
Dodgers beat the Yankees 7-6, and they take that World Series 4-1 as they win it last night in New York. Before we get to break, Colby Community College Volleyball, I mentioned this off the top of the show, dropped their first match since September 23rd. CCC lost to Garden City in 4 sets last night. They lost set 1, 25-20. Bounced back to take set 2, 25-23. And from that point forward, it wasn't even close. 25-14, 25-17. Garden won the final 2 sets, which snapped a 9-match winning streak for Colby. And it was their first loss this season to an unranked foe. They had lost to a top 5 Northeastern team. They had lost to a top 10 Barton team. This was the first loss to a non-ranked Garden City team, which has a winning record. I think they're 13, now probably 14-11 is what their record is at this point in time. But CCC 23-3 overall, 13-2. It'll be interesting to see how much they drop down in the rankings. And also that has an impact on the overall standings of possibly chasing a crown for Region 6. So kind of a tough loss. They still have 1 regular season game left. It's sophomore night at the event center on Saturday afternoon. They welcome in Hutch. More than likely, they'll get back on track. And then we have a very interesting Region 6 tournament coming up here next week where, we'll see. Garden City's played good. Dodge City's played good as of late. Of course, Barton and Colby are going to be the favorites. Look forward to seeing how that volleyball tournament plays out next week. Also, high school football playoffs. Boy, a great slate of games. So I think it's I didn't double check. I know for sure it's 1A and down play football tonight, and I think might be 2A and up or 3A and up play football tomorrow. But the high school football playoffs kick off tonight. A lot of area teams are on the gridiron. Most notably, the number 1 team in 8-man Division I Hoxie at home hosting Lacrosse. Lacrosse used to be a powerhouse program. They've fallen off here over the last few years. But Hoxie's got a great chance of advancing in the first round. It's a 99.8% chance, barring just a complete mental meltdown. Rollins County will host Ellis in a semi-entertaining game. I think Rollins County's physicality will probably overpower Ellis to have them advance. And then the rest of the games, I think they're either going to be tough for Northwest Kansas teams or toss-ups. You got Oakley making I don't even know how long of a trip it is. It's got to be 4.5 hours, would be my guess, in a bus to Valley Heights, which is in Blue Springs, north of Manhattan. They got a long trip ahead, does Oakley. So Oakley heads to Valley Heights. Decatur Community will be heading down south to Leota and Wichita County. That's another fascinating game. You've got Josiah Pattengall, one of the top rushers in our region, going up against the Wichita County team, which has had unbelievable success on the gridiron the last few years for Coach Douglas. They've done a great job there. And so DCHS and Wichita County squaring off tonight down in Leota should be an interesting game. Wallace County on the road at Mineola. Wheatland Grinnell goes to Buckland, and Tri-Plains Brewster is down at Moscow. Are your high school football playoff games concerning area squads here tonight. But like I said, I feel good about 2 teams. I don't really know about anything else. I could see Wallace County, Mineola maybe being a toss-up. We'll see. Wallace County is going to be an underdog there. Decatur Community, Wichita County. I mean, Decatur Community's had a great season. I think Wichita County is maybe the more complete team, but we'll see. And I don't know anything about Valley Heights when it comes to Oakley Valley Heights. I just know that the Plainsmen have a very long road trip ahead of them. So, and that if you're on the road, that means you're the lower seed. And of those 7 games, 5 of those teams are on the road. So only 2 teams get a host tonight in Hoxie and Rollins County, and I expect those 2 teams more than likely to advance on. But some high school football playoffs on tap for tonight, and good luck to all the area athletes and teams. as they begin postseason play. Could be a little chilly, but not as chilly as last night. So we'll take the weather that you're going to have. All right, let's get to our next break. When we return, we are going to hit into the NFL Power 5. We'll get you our top 5 games on the NFL slate here for week number 9. That's ahead here on a Thursday edition of the Morning Blitz.
October is National Cooperative Month. Midwest Energy is a customer-owned cooperative, meaning everyone who takes service is a part owner. You vote to choose your board of directors, and you share in the economic success of the co-op. Like all co-ops, Midwest Energy promotes growth in our communities through employee involvement, by supporting schools, and through the Midwest Community Fund. Midwest Energy, a customer-owned cooperative, making energy work for you.
Hi, it's Andrew Hoiberg from Calcium Products. Rapidly correct and maintain your soil pH with 98G pelletized limestone to protect your fertilizer investment. Applying 98G at 200 pounds per acre provides a 9.4 bushel increase on corn and a 3.1 bushel increase on soybeans. Ask your agronomist about applying 98G pelletized limestone this fall and learn more at calciumproducts.com.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
From the latest scores to the hottest takes,
60% of the time, it works every time.
we're bringing the game to you. You're tuned in to the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
We will get to some Halloween talk in our walk-off segment. Talking some interesting stuff in just a little bit. Look forward to that. Are you a big Halloween guy, Max?
In my young days.
In the youngin' days?
Not as much anymore now. Well, it's now I'm not in college anymore, and so it's not. No one's throwing a party out here, at least in the South Park apartment complex in Colby.
Sounds like there's a calling.
But Ross, I will say, and I wanted to mention this at the beginning of the hour when you were talking about the weather, but we had some technical issues. I was frozen into my car this morning, and Chad had to pick me up. So I don't know where my
ice scraper
is. I have had it in my car for probably 5 years. Don't know where it is. Probably somewhere in Orlando, Florida. But
why would it be there?
Because I didn't use it in Orlando, so it probably just stayed there.
Oh, so Mac didn't have the muscular strength to open up the door today.
No, I could get into the door, but I couldn't see anything.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes sense.
I could get in, but I couldn't see anything. So
yeah, I think that was a common issue for a lot of people this morning.
I wasn't ready for it.
That's all right. I mean, I think some people might be, and I saw some people got out this morning, started up their cars to get their cars warmed up. But yeah, if you didn't get it out and get going, you're going to be a few minutes late to work, but that's all right. All right, we've got just a few minutes left to go, about 10 minutes to get in our NFL Power 5, and let's get it rocking.
All right.
Start with your honorable mention. You have any honorable mention games here? No honorable mention game. I do have one. I have one honorable mention game. I'm going to throw one honorable mention game in there, and you're going to be like, why is that an honorable mention game? I'm throwing Chiefs and Buccaneers as my honorable mention game.
Okay.
Just because I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. It would be way more entertaining if the Buccaneers were healthy. Way better. But their wide receiving core is down to the bare bone guys and practice squad players. So I don't know how great that is. But the Buccaneers defense does have some nice pieces. I still think the Chiefs win probably pretty handily because they are at home. When you're a 9-point favorite at home in the NFL, that's a pretty big spread. So I think the Chiefs win easily. But they do have two high-scoring offenses. Both are top 4 in the NFL in points scored per game going into this game. I just don't know if the Buccaneers can do it anymore without their big weapons on offense. There's my honorable mention game. So there we go. Let's push forward to what is
number 5.
Number 5 on my list for this week's Power 5, Raiders versus Bengals. And this is one that's simple to me, and it's because the Bengals got to win this football game. They got to start winning. I'm done. They can't keep losing and be like, oh, we'll just figure it out at the end of the year. They got to win this one, and it's very similar to my number 4. There's a very similar scenario, but the Bengals got to win. So I'm excited to watch them play the Raiders it's getting scary for them after their loss last week.
Yeah, things are not looking good in Cincinnati whatsoever, which I feel bad. I like Joe Burrow. I love Zach Taylor. Go Big Red, former Husker quarterback, but it has not been a good year. Their defense has been horrific. They really can't get any stops, and the offense can't score enough, which is saying something. So, they've got to get some things ironed out in Cincinnati. I think, to me, they are a playoff caliber team if they can play to their level that I think we all can, but they just have not done that at this point in time in the season. My number 5, I'm going Colts at Vikings. I believe this is Sunday Night Football. Can the Vikes get back to winning after a couple of consecutive losses? That's interesting. They were 5-0. They've dropped 2 in a row. Can they get back to winning? And what does Joe Flacco do for the Colts? He's taking over for Anthony Richardson. They've benched him for a while. And Joe Flacco steps in. And Joe Flacco, remember, was the comeback player of the year last year for the Cleveland Browns. This game is interesting to me because what if Joe Flacco goes out there and lights up the Vikings and hands them a 3rd consecutive loss, and in the meantime, he looks good? That'd be pretty nuts. That's why it's number 5.
It would be. And it's not on my list, but I was thinking when I looked, I was like, I bet Ross puts that somewhere on his list. But let me tell you something. Sam Darnold and Joe Flacco in primetime in the big 2024 is mind-boggling to me.
And it could be good.
Could be
That's
good.
The thing. It could be good.
Why
It
not?
could be good. All right, moving on.
Number 4.
Number 4, I have tonight's game, Ross. Texans
There you
Jets.
go.
I told you it was similar to the last game, and it's because every game's a must-win for the Jets at this point. But they got to win this one, and this is a hard game for them. And New York sports has absolutely sucked in the last 5 days, so I hope that continues tonight. Go Texans! It's in New York. Yankees fans, or whoever was Yankee fans that also like the Jets, will be hoping and praying that they can finally feel some happiness after what's been going on the last few weeks. And so that's my number 4, just because the Jets, they got to win. They got to win.
A lot of traumas to the groins for New York sports fans at this point in time. It's been a rough couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I'll talk more on that game in a minute. I've got my number 4 as the Denver Broncos at the Baltimore Ravens. This game intrigues me just because you've got a clash of styles. You got a great offense, one of the best offenses in the NFL, top 2 offense, top 3 offense in the NFL, facing off against the top 5 defense in Denver. Who wins that battle? Can Denver find a way to limit Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry? Can they find a way to do that? It's a tall task, and they're going to have to more than likely keep Baltimore under 2 touchdowns, because I don't know if the Broncos can score that against the Baltimore Ravens defense, which is also pretty good. So the Ravens are certainly the team advantage. I believe they've got, I think they're a 8-7 point advantage at this point in time at home. It'd be a little bit different if the Broncos were at home, but I think Baltimore probably wins. But I'm intrigued because I think Denver's defense is good and the Baltimore Ravens offense is good. And I like to see those two things go head to head.
Yeah.
So
I'll get to that when I get that on my list.
Number 3.
Number
3, Ross. Buccaneers versus the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. It's Arrowhead on Monday night is just my favorite thing ever. But I think every time the Chiefs play from here on out, look, they're undefeated. Ross, the last time the Chiefs lost a football game, let me tell you what was happening. I was in college. I was in Punta Cana on a beach getting served drinks from our personal chef with my friend. And I was just, about to cry on Christmas because the Chiefs were getting demolished by the Raiders. What else was happening? I still had a girlfriend. There was a lot happening in my life. So
you were living the high. So hold on. So you're telling me the high life was then, and the Chiefs lost, and it all went downhill from there?
No. I'll take this all day. We haven't lost in nearly a year. This has been incredible. Buccaneers, Chiefs, Monday Night Football. The Bucs have no one. The Chiefs are injured, but they're getting through it. Hopkins is going to play a bigger role. I'm pumped up.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, I think this game's entertaining because of the two offenses are both high scoring, but I just don't know if the Buccaneers, I think, are so ravaged by injuries, and the Chiefs defense has been so good. I don't think they're going to score much, and I think Kansas City takes care of business, which makes it kind of not very entertaining, but it made my honorable mention list. My number 3 is tonight's game, Texans at the Jets. Look, it's like a car wreck, all right? You shouldn't really watch, but you can't take your eyes off it, right? It's like watching NASCAR, and there's a big old pileup, like, oh, God, don't watch that. There's a body hanging out of the car, but you can't. You got to keep looking at it. That's what watching the Jets is like. Watching the Jets is kind of like watching the Colorado Buffaloes a season ago. You're like, I have to see. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? I have to see it. Well, Jets, Texans tonight. Look, I don't know if the Jets are going to win another game. I have no idea if Aaron Rodgers is going to finish the season. I don't know, and I don't care. But I'm intrigued. And guess what? The Texans are a good football team, even if they lost Stephon Diggs. It still doesn't hurt. They still have Tank Dell, still have Nico Collins. They still have a lot of great pieces. They got a good quarterback. They got a solid defense. Texans should win this game. But I can't help myself. I got to watch this game because the Jets, I just don't know. They looks like they could implode at any moment. Looks like they could.
That's the Jets season, isn't it, though? It looks like the Texans should win this game, but, it's everyone the Jets play. But, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. That's my number 3.
Number 2.
Number 2, I've got Broncos Ravens for these reasons at my number 2 spot. The Ravens are looking for a bounce back win after they lost to the Browns. And if they lose this game again, then it's like, all right, what is going on with the Ravens? They'll still, they'll probably win the division, but it's still, questionable. But if the Broncos win this game, if the Denver Broncos win this game, they officially have my attention as someone that, I'm looking out for in the playoffs because that defense has been elite. And that is a scary sight to see for any team come postseason time, especially for Chiefs, because the Chiefs haven't really faced the Broncos in that big of a game in a long time. So that's an unfamiliar foe that the Chiefs are used to playing the same teams every year in the playoffs, it seems like. So they have my attention if they win this game. Also, but if the Ravens win, Chiefs might end up clinching this division in like 3 weeks. I mean, we're getting to the point that, it's going to be tough for anyone to climb that hill if the Broncos lose this week. So.
Yeah, look, the Broncos, I think, are in a much better position than anybody thought they'd be. I mean, to be 5-3 and where they're at, they got to feel good. But the next 2 games are daunting. If they could win one of those 2, and I know our listener, Michael, who chimes on the EpiBank text line from time to time, he said if they can win one of those 2 games, that's massive.
Yes.
Massive. And we'll see if that gets done like I said, I agree. I think, that, once again, it's the great offense against the great defense who wins that battle between Baltimore and Denver. My number 2, I got to go with 2 quarterbacks that fascinate me. I can call this the Lincoln Riley Quarterback Bowl. The Cardinals at the Bears. Look, the Cardinals have played pretty decent this year. They're physical. They run the ball well. I love watching Kyler Murray, as I've mentioned before on this show. He's highly entertaining to me. And Caleb Williams is a younger version of him. I think Caleb Williams is kind of like Kyler Murray, just a little bit bigger and maybe not as quick or has as much acceleration when he goes from stop to start. But I think there's 2 good quarterbacks. How did the Bears respond after that bomb that happened to them in the nation's capital this past weekend? I mean, how do they respond? Do they come back home and actually look decent? Or is that kind of the end of the season? Because the Bears are in the mix. And the Cardinals think they're a solid team. This game's very entertaining. It's why it's number 2 to me. Cardinals at Bears. 2 fun quarterbacks to watch. And Caleb Williams as well as Kyler Murray. All right. Finalize. Number 1.
Number
1, probably the same with you. Lions,
probably
Packers.
So.
Lions,
Packers.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you go first. Why is Lions Packers number 1?
First and foremost, top spot in the NFC North is on the line.
Yes.
Packers are 6-2. Lions, I think, are 6-1.
Yeah.
And so you've got the top spot in the NFC North, which, by the way, is a great division. Remember, the Vikings are in there and the Bears are in there as well. Those are all solid teams. And so this is a great division, and this is for the top spot. And, the Lions have looked like, maybe minus the Chiefs, the best team in the NFL. They've looked that good, both offensively and defensively. When you combine all facets of the game, they have looked just as good up there with Kansas City in that realm of the top-tier teams. And the Packers, you know what? I give them a lot of credit. Jordan Love has been in and out with injuries. Malik Willis has been a great find for them at the backup quarterback spot. He's won them some games. That they're not the same Packers unit with, Devontae Adams or with Aaron Rodgers. They're not the same, but it doesn't matter. They still have found ways to win very good football games this season. And so and also didn't the Lions knock out the Packers a couple of years ago? Yeah, that was 2 years ago.
Week
17.
And
so, like I said, and that was in Lambeau.
Yep.
So, there might be a little bit of bad blood about that game still hanging around. So that's why this game is totally fascinating. It's why it's clear number 1.
There absolutely is. And I think whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win this game. The Packers like to create a lot of turnovers, but Jordan Love has turned the ball over at times as well. So I think, the Packers need to play and execute at their highest level this year, and the Lions are going to be tested after this game. And I know they've blown out a couple teams in a row now, but this is their time to buckle down and beat a really tough opponent in the Packers. So yeah, that's my clear-cut number 1.
Once again, honorable mention, Chiefs, Buccaneers, Colts at Vikings, Broncos at Ravens for 4, Texans at Jets 3, Cardinals at Bears 2, and Lions at Packers number 1 for me in the NFL Power 5 here in week number 9. And
then
what do you got?
For me, Raiders, Bengals, Texans, Jets, Bucks, Chiefs, Broncos, Ravens, Lions, Packers.
There you go. That is the NFL Power 5 here on this Thursday. Okay, time for some fun in the walk-off.
A 3-run walk-off.
I'm very intrigued at what this is going to be, Ross.
With a walk-off. His second walk-off hit of the season. In walk-off fashion. That baby's go.
I see Max's mom is listening on Facebook. I wonder what was her favorite costume that Max dressed up in as a little kid. And Max, what was your favorite costume?
Oh, man. My favorite costume. Well, I dressed up probably in 2015 or 2016 as Donald Trump. That was a good one. I dressed up as Kane from WWE. That was a classic one. And then there was that 1 year I had to have been in like third grade. Everyone was wearing like morph suits.
Suits.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know if people my age remember. It was like one color, like a skin tight suit.
Okay.
Just all blue, like kind of like a Blue Man Group thing. If it was just
I
get.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That was when I remember. I don't really remember much. I don't know. What about you?
Let's see. I went as a boxer one time. I went as one of the ones I went as recently was the Allstate guy, Mayhem from Allstate. The guy, the suit getting all beat up. That guy went as that guy one time.
Oh, that's a good
one.
one.
As a doctor before. Yeah, I've got those have been some ones. Yes, Mama Gershon. Please post pictures. We'd love to see that. But yeah, I had some other ones. Thomas the Train, which you probably don't know what that is. When I was growing up, he was big in my time growing up. My dad made a custom Thomas the Train thing out of cardboard boxes, which was pretty cool.
Oh,
when I
that's
was growing up, which was pretty sweet. Okay, we're out of here. We got 15 seconds. Favorite candy?
Oh my goodness. I love Skittles and Milky Way.
I'm going with Milk Duds, Kit Kats, and Twix. That's what I like. So if you want to give them to me, that'll be great. Dad tax will be paid tonight. For Max and Ross, have a great Halloween. We'll see you tomorrow on the Blitz.
This is where classic rock legends